to another amazing episode of Talkers vs. Doer. I am your host, Coach Perry, your mental coach, mental health, mental wellness, mindset. I got you. But it's not all about me today. We have an amazing guest that is here that is about to blaze the platform. So, mom, get your daughter, sit them down, get ready, listen to this amazing story. This is an impact that we need for our community in the state of Alabama. So I'm so excited because I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Not only is she so Sora, come on now, but I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself or who she is. So none other, please take the floor, Queen, and just kind of tell them your name, who you are, and where you're from.
Yes, I am LaNia Cole. I am the reigning Miss Black Alabama USA 2023, and I am from and currently reside in Birmingham, Alabama.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So, I don't know if y'all heard her. She said Miss Black Alabama. So we're gonna go from there. Kind of just, you currently reside in Birmingham, Alabama. Where were you raised, your background, and where you from? If you can kind of tell the people as we gear to Miss Black Alabama.
Right. So, if you guys, for the people that know Birmingham, I am from Brighton. So, Brighton is my family, like my hood, Bessemer Superhighway.
Oh wow.
That's where,
Okay.
yeah, that's where my people stay. So, I was raised over there. I went to New Hope Baptist
Okay.
from kindergarten or pre-K all the way to second grade. And then my mom moved me to the Hoover City School System. So I actually did graduate from Hoover High. And then I went on to Auburn University and I got my degree in mechanical engineering. And I worked there for a little bit and I hated mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So I quit that and I became a teacher. So I was a high school teacher at Spain Park for a couple of years, but then there were some issues with my certification. So that was actually my last job. So now I am a full-time entrepreneur. I do a few things on the side, but ultimately I am running and managing a credit repair business with my fiance.
Okay.
So that's me in a
Love
nutshell.
it. Yes, in a nutshell. Okay. We're just gonna draw back from what she said, you guys. Bessemer,
Right.
all in those areas that
Yeah.
she's from. And y'all understand when we say talkers versus doers, it's about people that's not just talking, but she actually doing it. And so many people hear about when you're here in Birmingham, all the horrible and bad parts. But from you saying from that part to Hoover, then on to Arbor, and then on from teaching, that means it can be done.
Right.
It can be done. You have
Right.
the willpower. So get through all that aspect of going through. Were there any challenges that you faced though in your areas of growing up? Because we got to think, we're just gonna be honest. Like you said, you're from that area of Beltsma. You have family member there, then transition to Hoover. So was there any challenges or anything growing up?
Of course. Of course. And that's the platform that I stand on today. That's what it's really about. So diving into my childhood. So I grew up in a very I feel like most family structures in Birmingham might sound a little bit like mine. So I come from a single parent household. My father and my mother split when I was 6, but my father, he was deep into the drug game. So he was in and out of prison most of my life. So I never really actually got to build a relationship with my father. Actually, we're just now building a healthy relationship. He's currently locked up right now.
Okay,
But he will be getting out within the next couple years. So we're actually taking the time to build our relationship, and it's the best that it's ever been. Thank goodness.
that is awesome.
But I know a lot of stories aren't necessarily like mine. And growing up, my relationship with my father was pretty much non-existent, but also very poor at the same time. And then you have, the stereotypical independent Black mother raising children on her own.
Mhm.
And my mom had to step up and be that father role in my life. I always like to joke and say that I feel like I grew up with a father, but I kind of didn't grow up with a mother because since my mother had to take on that father role, I was neglected that natural nurturing, that motherly instinct feel that I needed. And as a woman, that's super important because that allows you to tap into your femininity. So that's what I battled with as a kid, is being the super feminine person. I was very in tune with my emotions, and being in a family structure where all of the women are the strong, independent Black women that kind of ignore their emotions and look at it as weakness. So I grew up in my mind thinking that I was weak because of the way that I was feeling
Wow.
deep inside. And of course, not having that mother figure in my life, I developed low self confidence, self hatred almost. I always felt like an outcast, especially moving to the Hoover City school system where I'm one of the very few Black students there.
Mhm.
And I've always been super smart when it came to school. I'm really good at school. So I was in all of your AP classes and stuff like that. But I will always get these jokes of, you're the Oreo, like you're Black, but you're not like the rest of them. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So I grew up in that environment, never really feeling comfortable in my skin, never really feeling like I was meant to be the way that I was born,
Mhm.
never really finding my place in this world. And because of that, I dealt with a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety, a lot of suicidal thoughts. I dealt with self harm,
Okay.
bringing in the fact that my mother was dating someone throughout, literally from when I was 6 years old to a freshman in high school, was dating a man who was addicted to drugs, which I didn't figure out until I grew up. But he was addicted to drugs, and alcoholic. He was abusive. They always got into arguments and stuff like that, and it was just a terrible environment to grow up in the house, knowing that it's toxic at home, but then going out into the world and also not feeling like there's a safe place for you, or a place for you to feel like you belong or that you fit in. So as a child, and I was the only child, like I grew up around my cousins, but for the most part they were in the same boat as me, like still
Wow.
feeling the same feelings that I was feeling and not really understanding where I was coming from, because I was always the black sheep of the family.
Mhm.
So you can just imagine what that feels like growing up, feeling like you're absolutely alone, like no one understands you. Every time you try to talk about your emotions or what you're going through, you're crazy, you're weak.
Mhm.
And it led me to, like I said, self harm, suicidal thoughts. When I finally went to college, my freshman year, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and depression.
Mhm.
And they honestly just threw medication at me.
Wow.
Uh,
Which
like,
you do a lot.
right.
Mhm.
It's very popular in the Black community to just throw medication at us. So that's what they did. And ultimately, the medication increased my suicidal thoughts, and I ended up overdosing in May of 2016. Of course, I'm here today. So,
Yes, you are, and we are thankful for that.
yes,
Being here telling your story now on Talkers First Doors. Man,
right.
so many questions. I just applaud you, but I want to take it back to what you talked about your mom saying, not having an actual mom, but a dad. And I understand that because I
Yeah.
grew up in a single parent home. So I know and get that. So, what are your thoughts of why your mom, and I also heard you say people or other women in your family felt like they couldn't express emotions? What do you think that came from? Or do you get a chance to talk to your mom about, okay, why do you have this built up of feeling like this way?
Right. So, well, first of all, me and my mom have a beautiful relationship now. Like that's my best friend. But
Yes.
growing up, it was absolutely terrible.
Absolutely.
But we've had a lot of time to talk about these things, and she's apologized for a lot of things. I've apologized for a lot of things, and we just have a mutual understanding of just the growth that both of us had to go through, because she was
Mhm.
19 when she had me,
Okay.
and I can't even imagine. I know where I was when I was 19, you know. I couldn't even imagine trying to raise a daughter at 19 years old. So there's so much love and forgiveness there. But from her perspective and where that's coming from, it's it's generational. So I
Mhm.
know my grandmother, she is actually Korean, full-blooded Korean. Um, was born and raised in South Korea. And yeah, so my grandfather actually he was in the army and he was stationed over there for some time. So that's how they met.
Wow.
And yeah, and he brought her back over here. So it's crazy because I recognize that it's not just trauma within the Black community. So I know that my grandfather went through his own traumas, and sadly, I never really got to have those conversations with him before he passed. But I know from my grandmother's perspective, I've had so many conversations with her and
Mhm.
what she went through because she grew up during the Korean War.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, imagine being like a 6 to 8 year old in the middle of war.
Mhm.
And she lost her mother in the war. And she went through times of like being frostbitten, not having anything to eat. She watched her baby sister die because nobody had milk to feed her. She went through a lot. So when you go through something like that, and this is also, I'm not saying that these traumas are related, but in a way you can think of that similar trauma being passed down in the Black community as well, going through the hardships that we went through and
Mhm.
having to develop that tough skin. So that's where my grandma was coming from, is that she was in a place of survival, so she never really got the chance to tap into her femininity and to be a good mother, to my mom and teach her how to be a woman, because my grandmother is one of the toughest women that I've ever met. She's has
Mhm.
such like a hard exterior,
Yeah.
but she's been through so much that I can't really expect her to be like that loving, nurturing grandmother.
Mhm.
So my mom simply just got it from there. Like my grandmother taught her, like, you can't show emotions or else you'll be weak. You can't survive that way.
Yes.
You can't trust other people. You can't trust men. So then my mom just
Passed it on down too as well. And I kind of go into
exactly.
people say generational curses, and but as I'm getting older, I'm saying generational choices that
Mm,
because of situations that was given to us, we made choices to do too.
right.
So just a similarity with you, me and my mom, we are cool. We're co-stated, but growing up, it was no relationship. I'm a big sports player, play sports, work with sports athletes in the mental health field now, but my mom didn't play sports, didn't know anything about sports. So that emotional aspect when I was crying because of the game didn't go right or something wrong, it was just like, get over it. It's just a game.
Mm,
Go do that. But when I look at my grandma, like you said, and I'm a small one, but my grandma is for something and she's tough as nails. She don't care who you is. She's gonna say words to you that may not be so nice, but
yeah.
it's that backbone that she have. Even though she's the smallest in the room, you're gonna hear her.
Right.
And now her children goes that way. And even now, and if we're just being real, this talkers versus doors, you guys, like we love to put it out there. Even now as an adult, I'm still struggling with things telling my folks now that be because of how you guys did and raised us and my siblings, we
Mm,
are still struggling with those things. Like
yeah.
emotional wise, because I heard you talking about things that happened to you. Like just letting people know there is outcome, whether positive or negative, that comes from that. And you stated some of the things of the suicidal thoughts and everything that went off and carried you when you was in college.
Yeah.
That's because it was never actually handled when you was at home. So for those parents that are out there watching it and are listening and have heard what she actually spoke about, to know emotion is needed.
Mhm.
Any child, male and female, but especially from that mom, you want that hug. I had a situation where I told my mom like 2 weeks ago, I wanted that mom that I could lay on her lap and cry. And I never.
Yeah.
And now I'm an adult in my mid 30s, like I still needed to cry on my mama lap. I still needed my mom to tell and point out that boy that pulled my hair, or that girl that said I was ugly, but I never went or had the opportunity of those things.
Man.
So going from that, what are some things that you can say, like within the high school? I know you said not feeling that you felt that you was there because of the harsh words of Oreo, or people saying that you fit just in. But was there any other things that stand out that's like, okay, for the parents that are watching, what are some things that you experienced within that high school that was like, this is why mom needs to be there. This is why mom needs to be supportive.
Right. It's this concept of love in general. And because I felt like I was never getting that love that I needed, that nurturing from home, I didn't know how to nurture myself,
Wow.
nor did I know how to nurture relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. I feel like I sabotaged a lot of the genuine friends that I did have because one, I did not know how to love them, but two, I didn't know how to love myself, and that can be very draining on other people. I used to self-sabotage a lot. Looking back at the situations that I was in, like a big part of it came from the fact that I just did not have confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And because even if I was given the opportunity to fit into a group, I would immediately count myself out because I didn't believe within myself that I belonged there. I believed that I was supposed to be an outcast, that I was supposed to have bad relationships and be away from other people because that's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw any examples of healthy relationships or friendships either. I didn't know how to foster any of that because I didn't have that with my mom. I feel like the first relationships that you have are with your parents. So if you don't have a relationship with either of your parents, it's like, who's supposed to teach me? Who's supposed to teach me about self love when I see that my mom doesn't even practice it for herself?
Right.
You know, my mom never taught me how to be a woman in a feminine aspect of things. She never taught me how to embrace my femininity, and that's something that I had to go out and find on my own through trial and error. And now, like, we're having conversations. I'm educating her on some ways that she can tap into her femininity, and she's just now getting to a place where she can do it comfortably. So
Okay.
you miss out on a lot when you don't have
Yes.
your mother figure in the house.
And I love it though because now it has birthed such great relationship, as you just said, that now you're able to help her out with things. You're able to show her things that, if you guys never concealed that relationship, it would not have been there. So again, those are for those moms that are sitting there and not communicating, not talking, and not having a relationship with their daughter. There's always time, but we want you guys to start now.
Right.
Build that relationship. Ask questions. I don't know about you, but once again, being that I too was an honor student and everything, do you believe that that is a part that while a lot of parents neglect feelings when they see that, hey, my child is very smart. They're a part of all these great clubs. So they really don't need that extra support and love because guess what? I already have a roof over their head. So have you seen
Mm.
that or do you believe that that was a piece that affected to the communication, with your mom?
That's such a common misconception within parents is that they think that we're getting good grades and we're involved because we're good, but it's really that we're getting good grades and we're involved because we're bad. It's more of like a cry out for help.
Mhm.
Like me overachieving and excelling in everything was just so that I could get some type of praise from my parents and get some type of love because at the time, like, that was the only positive emotions that I got out of my parents was
Mm,
praise when I was doing well. And this started even when I was a kid because I mean, my family, they valued education more than anything. So even like as a kindergartner, I remember my mom makes fun of me because I would cry when I couldn't do my homework or when I didn't understand my homework. But little did she know I was crying not because I was just obsessed with getting my homework done, but I was crying because in the back of my head I'm thinking if I can't do this, my parents won't love me.
mm.
So it's
Wow.
it's so
Yeah,
toxic.
like you said, toxic, and a lot of yours was wrapped with emotions.
Yeah.
Again, it's staring back to what you was not given as a child, that even in high school you're thinking that, and that goes back to what our youth is already dealing with. You got dealing with the bullying and peer pressure that you was dealing with within the school from just your peers. And then at home, you're dealing with the negativity too of trying to fit in. So throughout life, like you said, you've been trying to just fit in and have a place somewhere.
Yeah.
So being that all that went on, when can you say you finally say, okay, I got a place of who I am and where I'm at? Like, what part of your life did things start changing for the better, you should say, for you?
So I hit what I call rock bottom one day. And it was it's such a vivid experience, but I think I was a sophomore, um, going into my junior year of college, and I was dating this guy who was extremely abusive. This was my first love, and I could already see that it was just me duplicating what I'd seen in my with my mother and her relationship. So he was very abusive, and I was used to that. So I hung around. And I remember one day, I can't remember why we got into an argument or what happened. It seemed like we argued every day, but it ended really bad. And I remember I was on the floor, like in fetal position, crying, and he was kicking me and like spitting on me and
Wow.
saying all these terrible things to me. And there was this voice in my head that just said, "This is not you." And I don't know, and it's not like he hasn't done that before. Like that wasn't the first time, but for some reason that one time just changed everything. I don't know what it was, like a switch just went off in my head, and I remember just laying there, and I went to sleep there, and I was just thinking in my head like, never again.
Mhm.
Never again. And from that moment on, like, it wasn't like I just figured everything out and like it was just everything was healed and I wasn't anxious or I wasn't depressed anymore.
Oh,
It was, I understand that I'm unwell and that something needs to be done about it.
wow.
I feel like when I was diagnosed with depression and GAD, like it was almost like a life sentence. They made
Mm,
it seem like without medication, this was just something I was going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. So I might as well, be on medication to help me manage it. No one actually tried to address the root problem and help me figure it out from there. Even in counseling, I never got that.
wow.
So, it was like in that moment, I recognized this isn't a life sentence. I don't have to deal with depression and generalized anxiety disorder for the rest of my life. I don't that's not who I am. It's just something that I'm dealing with. So, I went through a journey of just figuring out what that meant. Now that I understood, okay, this is not me. I'm not my diagnosis. Now I had to figure out, okay, then who am I? How do I get rid of this? How do I control my anxiety? And I mean, luckily, I figured it out, which is
I
which
was
is
gonna say,
great.
how did you walk away from that? Like that voice was in your head. You heard it. It was said. So what happened after that? Like, was it just okay? I'm just done. With him. Like, what was that final? Like, did you just get up and leave from there? Like, what happened?
No, I was not perfect by
Okay.
any means. Like I said, nothing was healed. I was still going through what I was going through. I was still
Wow.
in a lot of pain, but I had a different understanding of things now.
Yeah.
So I didn't leave immediately,
Okay.
but now anytime I was around him or anytime we got into an argument, there was still a voice in the back of my head that was just like, "You're not supposed to be here." It was it wasn't the same energy that I had been giving into the relationship prior to.
Okay.
And I started to do more things for myself. Like, I feel like in an abusive relationship, sometimes we just that person becomes our entire life. Like, they take us away from our friends, all of our extracurricular activities, our hobbies, and that was me. My life was him. That was it. School, him. That was it. So, what I started to do was get back out. Like, I would just start going to events with or without him. I didn't care. I went by myself, or
Mhm.
I started talking to my friends again, and not about him, but just trying to be more positive, even though I was hurting on the inside, even though I was lost and confused and didn't know what to do. And I mean, long story short, I ended up messing around with somebody else,
Mhm.
and he found out about it, and he ultimately cut things off, which was great
Wow.
because I didn't have to. If I tried to cut things off, he would always try to come back and try to come back. But in this case, of
It
course, he
was
never tried to come back.
yes. So in that case, it was good. He cut his own
Yeah.
stuff off. We wanted that cut,
Right.
and it came in a way. So you're saying from there, first that voice, and then you start actually what I say, start building confidence in yourself. Because you
Yeah.
started getting confidence to say, I'm going to go out by myself. I'm going to do things by myself. Also, use more self aware who you are as a woman. To me,
Yeah.
it sounds like in that stage, that's when you start birthing who you are now.
Mm.
Like you was then already impregnated with it. Like, I'm going to do better for myself.
Yeah.
I know it's better. And you continue to get to that point of it. So going into that, knowing that you had that actual past, and even though we're saying past, because it was a journey of greatness that got you.
Mhm.
Now you're looking on the front step of Miss Alabama. Where did that come from? What was the reason? What was the why?
Right. So me and pageantry have a very close relationship. And it's because right after I got out of that relationship, and I started to get out more, I actually started befriending the alphas on campus. And
Mm,
I got really, really close to them. And one of them, like, convinced me to do Miss Black and Gold. So, I that was my first ever pageant, and I was really good at it, surprisingly, and I won. And then I went on to district, and I won district. So, this isn't my first state title. I've held a state title before, but pageantry was one of those things that I turned to, and I was able to harness my pain and what I was going through and really put myself out there. It was one of the first things that I did in helping establish who I am and my confidence. And I felt like I just really I loved it. Like, I loved being a part. I loved putting myself on stage. I loved being able to use my pain as my platform more
I'm
than anything, because even back then mental health was my platform.
writing this down. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, pain is platform. I like it. Yes.
Yeah, that's ultimately where my love from pageantry came. And it's crazy because pageantry is one of the most anxiety inducing hobbies, activities ever, because you're literally on a stage and people are judging you for
Mhm.
who you are. So it became a way for me to conquer my anxiety
Mhm.
almost, and just become come face to face with my fears.
Love it.
And I got away from it for a while because I actually was in the Miss Alabama system. I went for Miss Auburn University, and there has never, ever been a black Miss Auburn University.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, never, ever.
Roll.
And I didn't think that I would be the first.
Mm,
I did not go into it with those intentions at all, and I didn't even place. And the crazy thing is that I went into it making a point. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to do well in that pageant because I'm not what they're looking
oh,
for.
oh, I want you to hold that, but to my young ladies that's listening, do y'all hear how she changed her tone, her authority from the beginning? Like, keep going, keep going. I just want y'all to understand that growth produced change. Like
Yeah.
just hearing that story in first, I did it on purpose. Okay, tell us why you did it on purpose. Let's go. Like,
Thank you for pointing that out. Um, but yeah, I knew that I wasn't gonna place in that pageant, but I did it to make a point. because there is a certain in the Miss America system, they're looking for a specific type of person. Even the black girls that have won, they almost have to code switch in order to
Mm,
get that title. And I made it a point, like my talent back then was spoken word. So I made it a point to write a poem that was about being different, about how the world doesn't accept difference, how the world is looking for a particular model, a specific thing, and if you don't fit into that, then you're not accepted.
mm.
I said that to these judges when I was up
Okay.
there, and it was a big thing that all of the winners have worn white. So of course, all of the girls bought white dresses, and I walked in there with a blue one. I didn't care, you know. Like I just prided myself on not conforming to who they wanted me to be. That's one thing I can always say about myself is that I've been unapologetically myself for so long, even though people have tried to like outcast me, even though I have not fit in and people judge me or whatever. I've prided myself on being unapologetically myself because I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to have absolutely any regrets or feel like I have to change myself in order to win, to be loved, to be liked. And that's why I ultimately stepped into the Miss Black USA system, because I understood that this was a system where I even have a chance of winning by just being me.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to change who I am for anybody. And even though I love pageantry, there aren't many places where I can be myself and be successful
Yeah.
within the pageantry system. So I always say this might be my last pageant, because unless there is another system out there that can give me that same freedom to just be me. But ultimately,
I love it.
pageantry is how I found myself, and I'm not about to lose myself in it. If that makes sense.
That's just a mic drop. Like that right there was just a mic drop because I was just gonna, elaborate in it of what I'm hearing for you and also speaking to the youth is you saying find something that you're passionate about and that you love and take it over.
Right.
Because that's just what you did. But as they say, it was good chaos because you found that area and said, I'm going to be the very best in it, regardless of what's been going on, and I'm going to disrupt it because it needs to be disrupted. Like, yeah, she said she wore a blue dress. She wore blue. So find your area and work in it. But as she said, don't allow it to destroy you and who you are as a person. So I guess into that, has it been challenging on your level that you're at now? Like, what are some of the obstacles, if you can talk about it or you like to share, that you're possibly currently going through now?
So do you mean in general,
Yes,
or
in general, I guess on the platform of going to your next level in the pageants or going to your next level as Miss Black Alabama. Like now that we know where you are and the things that you've grown through, are there anything now that you're kind of like, okay, I still feel it's a blind side in these areas?
yeah, so I can't necessarily say with the pageant because I've just now gotten this role, and I'm just kind of walking in it and making it up as I go. But like I said, is I'm just gonna do it my way, and we're just gonna see what happens. But I know I'm gonna win that title. So whatever it may be, they'll conform to me before I conform to them.
Lean over, sister.
But,
Put that crown on you. I'm already. Mm, put
but in general, though, some of the challenges that I'm dealing with right now is just patience
mm,
and learning how to push through the hard parts of life, because I was actually not going to do this pageant. Uh, there were some things that I applied for this pageant in August. And after I didn't really hear anything back come November, I just kind of I let it go, and I didn't want to do it anymore. But then they reached out to me literally like a couple days after the new year and was like, "Congrats. You're Miss Black Alabama USA." And I was actually going to reject it. I was going to reject the title because of where I am in my life right now. Things are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am a budding entrepreneur. I had a social media platform that I decided to give up for the time being because of everything I have going on in my life. But being a new entrepreneur is tough, especially when it's a do or die situation. Like, you have to you have to figure out how to pay your bills,
Regardless.
and that's hard, and it pulls something new out of you. But I'm in a place where I've been in the entrepreneurial space since I graduated college. I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I thought that I would have made it by now. Like, you think that you would at least make it to like a stable place by now, but
It's like, no, we still got more work to do. Keep working.
I was talking to my fiance earlier and I was like, so at what point do we just hit the bottom? Because it's like things are just getting worse. And I keep thinking, it can't get worse than this. And then it just finds a way to get worse.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's got to be a way.
And it's definitely through that roller coaster, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It has to get better. And what you're doing, as I always tell people, has to work or it has to work. And like you said, through the midst of the chaos, we can't see. It's
Yeah.
cloudy for a reason, because if it wasn't cloudy, we wouldn't do the impact and the work that we're doing now to see the success. And sometimes we get so misconstrued of it's so hard, but would you have went that hard? Would you have studied that?
Right.
Would you have grind that hard? Would you have researched and networked with that many people if it was easy? So I always look at everything on the positive side of, okay, what or should I be learning from this situation?
And that's the challenge.
Hmm.
That's the big challenge here, is how can I keep my mindset sharp and strong even when it seems like everything is falling apart around you. And that was a big step that I took, because I said, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't know how I'm going to have the time to meet with anybody or plan these events. I don't know when I'm going to practice. I don't even know how I'm going to get to Washington D.C. in August. But you know
Hmm.
what? We're just going to do it because this is something that I want to do. So I'm just going to take a leap of faith and try. And in the midst of trying, you can't really see what's going on. You can't see an outcome. You can't see a positive outcome, but you're just like, I got to stay positive though. I got to stay elevated. And that's the biggest challenge that I'm going through right now. How can you manage that anxiety
Hmm. And it's having
amidst
that
it?
faith on
Yeah.
knowing things are going to get better and going to grow. Always, for our listeners and watchers, when you're saying it, what I love is our Miss Black Alabama, Miss London Snow, that she is human. She's grown through things, she's going through things, but she's still pushing, but she's doing it. She's not just talking about it. But she's on the platform and still allowing you guys to know her whole heart of like, I'm human. This is real. I'm hitting bottom, but I'm still reaching for a goal.
Hmm.
That ain't that. That's right there is awesome. Like, look, I'm at the bottom, but I still know I got a crown that I'm gonna wear. So it's no giving up, because I tell people all the time, long as you got your reasons, your answers will come.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you have a reason why you're doing this. So the answers are gonna come, the people are come, the network is gonna come, but it's the work that you have to do to get there. And it's continue pushing that work. So with that, we want to get this work started. So what do you need? Tell the people, what do you need? How can we be of a help and blessing for the people that are watching and want to help someone be real and be in front of them saying that, you know what, I know this person. He's real.
I want to say, like, I definitely appreciate just being on this podcast because it's given me a lot of clarity and it helped me realign with why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I'm not gonna lie, today was hard, and it was really hard for me to get on this podcast because there are just some things in my life that just happened today that I just wasn't expecting. And so it's nice getting on this podcast and being realigned with what what I'm doing and why I'm doing it in the first place. So, thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And if you guys want to help, can't deny the help. You can search Miss Black Alabama on GoFundMe, and you can donate. I keep saying, if 700 people donated $10, I'd be at my goal. So if it's just $10, look, I'd be completely happy. Of course, if you want to donate more, I'm down for that. But
Always more is always right.
right. But also, if there's any way that I can get involved in the community, more than anything, I just want to make sure that my heart is in the right place and that I get out and people know who I am. I don't want to just have this title and nobody knows who I am or my story or my platform or what I'm doing, because then what impact have I really made? Why did I even hold this crown and hold this title in the first place?
Yeah.
So if there's any way that I can get involved in the community, any event that you want me to come to, any podcast, any talk, anything that I can give back, any way I can give back to the community, like, I'm here. So just let me know.
Look at me. I'm talking about we there because we push it on too. So look, you guys, on all our platforms anyway, you will see her information posted. So we're gonna have that on there. So it's gonna be going also in our stories coming up. You're gonna see that. We're gonna get a link or all the etc. to put on our post. So you guys have no excuse. Like you said, to donate and give something. So we're gonna make sure we have that on there, and you guys can follow too on her platform. So we will have all that. Definitely on Talkers vs. Stewards on our Facebook and YouTube page, so you guys can have that information. But one of the biggest things is, growing up, especially within the Black culture, we always hear they not real, she phony, she fake. But now we've just brought somebody on the podcast that provided you with real life. That's from our backyard. That's from where we live at. That has also the education behind too, to show the type of person, the knowledge and how intelligent she is, but she's still human and still have grown things. So when we say we want to donate, we want to do something for somebody that's real, you have it right here. So help make this impact with her. Because guess what? We know you got that little girl. You got that niece. That's that dance girl that want to be a pageant. That want to do more things. And you want somebody. I always tell people, you want people to sow into your kids. You want people to sow into you. So sow into someone else. They need to hear mommy and see mommy actually donate to Miss Black Alabama and look back at her and say, this going to be you in 3 years. This going to be you in 10 years. To give them that motivation. So we're asking you guys, share the podcast, share all the social media outlets. We want this to rock the internet. I'm so excited for you. Because you guys we met at a networking, at a booth for vendor event, and it went in.
Yeah, we talked
What
for
I
a while.
love, yes, what I love about it was so real is, we're just gonna be honest, it wasn't a lot of people there, but she still showed up, wore her crown and heels, and I was there like, sis, you want to take those heels off? But
No.
no, I'm leaving up to it. I'm like, oh, girl. She said, my little tennis shoes were so comfortable, and I'm like, oh. But she showed up, she stayed in it, and she know what her goal is. So she didn't deter for it. She was like, no. And I promise, still talk to everybody that came in there. I was like, girl, you better go. You better go. So I applaud you for that.
I appreciate you for
Yes.
I look at these things like they're small. So it's awesome to hear from someone else's perspective that these are admirable things.
Great things, great things. So with that being said, is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Like, that's for the parents, the youth, any great words that you just want to leave out with?
Anything can be overcome. Absolutely anything can be overcome. Even if you think that it's a life sentence, even if you think that this is something that you're just going to struggle with, that you can't make it out of, there's always a way. And as long as you can keep at the forefront of your mind that there is a way, you will find it. So
That's
that's
it.
it.
Look, we on that. That is it. It is way. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Amazing Talkers First Doors and all our sorors of the Amazing Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Make sure you guys are sharing this and donating. My
Most
sister
definitely.
is doing some amazing things, and we are sisterhood. Hmm. Okay. So, but as always, y'all know how I end it. Don't just talk about change, be a doer of change. I love you guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll see you on the next Talkers versus Doers. Let's have a good one.